Hello, beautiful souls. My name is Jessie, and welcome to my Tiny Talks podcast, the show where we'll dive into self-love, inner child healing, and discovering your soul's purpose. I look forward to chatting with you every single week and helping you grow exponentially in all areas of your life. Without further ado, here's today's Tiny Talk. Hello, you guys, and welcome back to another episode of Tiny Talks. I am pumped up today. I don't know what it is, if it's because it's a Monday and I get the day off because it's a holiday, if it's because the sun is shining, or if it's just because I'm feeling extra grateful today. But nonetheless, I am so stinking pumped to be on here chatting with you all. I had such an incredible weekend. I got to escape and go visit my friend down in Nova Scotia and meet her new baby. And it was just so nice to get out of the house, go do something different and explore. So that definitely was a part of filling my cup. I got to sneak off to IKEA, which is always such an adventure and is really fun. Yesterday, I got to spend the day with loved ones and family, and that just always does truly fill my cup as well. So nonetheless, I'm super pumped and excited to be on here today. And today's episode was kind of shifted. I had an idea of what I wanted to talk about with you guys today, and yesterday on my drive home, it kind of shifted because as I was driving, and I'm very much someone who likes to kind of do a 50-50 drive, where 50% of my drive I like to listen to podcast and music, and the other part of it I like to just drive with acoustic music on or piano music and just let my mind think. And I'm obviously being intentional while I'm driving, but I just like to see what comes to my mind as I look around, as I look at the trees, look at the road, look at the cars around me, and kind of just take in everything that is surrounding me. And yesterday morning when I was on my drive back from Nova Scotia, it was a very foggy, raining, dark, cloudy morning. But for some reason, it was just such a vibe. Like, I just loved it for some reason. I was feeling really cozy in my truck with my coffee and Bailey, my dog, in the back. I had the heat warmer on, and life was just really good and really, really comfy. And so as I was driving into fog, and I had to slow down and just obviously take it one step at a time, because when there's fog, you can't see very far in front of you, nor can you see very far behind you. So a lot of cars had their four-ways on, or they were braking often so that you could see that they were there. And I just, at first, started to feel a little nervous driving, I guess, because it's kind of hard to see what's in front of you, and traffic is going so quickly that a car could sneak up in front of you and behind you very quickly. And once I got through the fog, I just had like this thought come to my mind of, imagine if we thought of the fog in front of us like our future. We can't see it. We know it's there. We don't know what it lies though. We don't know what's there. And the same with behind us. If we think of behind our vehicle like the past, we just went through it, so we kind of remember what it might look like, but we're not crystal clear. But maybe if something happened in that fog, we would remember, but it's behind us. We can't see it. All we can see is the radius that is around our vehicle and what we can see slightly in front of us, which would be our present moment. And so as I was driving and I was going through the fog, that exact thought kept going through my mind of, imagine if we all lived our life like we were living in fog, right? And this sounds a lot more poetic than I kind of anticipated, but it's so true, right? We often try to think so far in advance, but if we had that fog there, which in reality we do, we don't know what the future holds. We don't know what that looks like until we get there. That's why it is the future. The same with the past. We cannot live in the past, because if I'm driving forward and looking backwards, I might crash. I don't know where I'm going. And to be honest, you guys, life is no different. We often live our life that way. We are so far focused looking in front of us that we might miss if a deer jumped out in front of us, or in reality-wise, if something in life jumped out in front of us. Right? And that could cause us to crash. The same thing if I'm driving and I'm just looking in my rearview mirror looking backwards, I could crash. But yet we all live our life in that headspace every single day. And that is why today's episode is going to be prefaced around, if you're living in the now, if you're living in the present moment. And although I always say this, like living in the present moment is so crucial to live your life optimally and to be the most fulfilled, Yes, it is important to sometimes in life look to the future. Yes, it is okay sometimes to ponder about the past. But it's about the vast majority of your life. How are you spending it? Are you getting caught up in the fog behind you or in front of you? What is it that you're holding on to from the past, and what is it that you're trying to control about the future? Because that's exactly what it is. When our headspace is so far in the future or in the past, that usually comes from us trying to control something. Because maybe we've lost that sense of control before in our life and we don't want to lose that again. So we hyper-focus. We hyper-focus on what's to come so that we can have tangible hold of it to make sure that it goes the way that we want it to. Because maybe something in your past didn't go the way that you wanted it to. And that can cause our system to just naturally react in that way, right? If we've gone through something and our mind doesn't want us to go through it again, it jumps ahead and it thinks ahead because it wants to be one step ahead. It's a survival mechanism. It's a coping mechanism. And I'm definitely someone who is trying to practice what I preach, especially in this arena, because I am definitely guilty of thinking. I think more about the past than I do the future. I'm getting better at being future driven, but the last 2 years of my life, I have definitely spent in an autopilot, consumed by things that have happened to me in the past. And I do recognize that oftentimes happens when we suppress our traumas, suppress the things that we've gone through, suppress our emotions. And that's exactly what I had done for a very, very long time. And that worked for me for a long time until about 2 years ago when it didn't work anymore. And so all my memories and all my traumas and all my experiences that I suppressed and suppressed and suppressed from childhood, from adolescence and my teen years, they exploded. They came up and they exploded. And so for roughly 2 years, I was living in the past. And so I encourage you to ask yourself, before we even dive into today's content, how are you living? How are you showing up? Are you at that point in your life where maybe it's time to pivot and pause and reflect and honor for yourself of everything that you've gone through? Because whether you've gone through something traumatic or you haven't, and I will just say we've all had traumatic experiences, whether we want to call them that or not, we have all had something that has shaped us or rattled us into who we are today. And so I encourage you to reflect. Is that piece of you active? Is your mind spent pondering about that without you even realizing it? Are you sitting at a table with a group of friends and your mind is somewhere else? Are you trying to concentrate on something and you can't because your mind is somewhere else? Are you not seeing the beauty that is around you because you are focusing on something else? And I do just want to say that when I say all this, I know that it can be super hard. Living in the present moment is probably one of the hardest things that we can do, because our mind is designed to scan our surroundings, to scan for threats, to get ready, to think in advance. Because if we think about our ancestors in years ago, not even that long ago, really, if you think about it, we always had to prepare for when our next meal would be. We always had to prepare for where we were going to sleep, if we were going to be warm, if we were going to have shelter, right? All those little things that we don't necessarily think of, a lot of us now today. But our bodies over time, that has been wired in us to think to the future because we had to stay safe. However, the more that we can remind ourselves that we can do as much as we can in the present moment, but we can't change or manipulate the future. And luckily now we have so many more resources and opportunities around us that we can calm that part of our system down. And I do recognize that not everybody has that. But focusing on what is in your control in the present moment. Yes, it's okay to think ahead sometimes. Again, yes, it's okay to think in the past sometimes. But if you're living your life in one of those two extremes, it might be time for you to either tend to that yourself, go speak to someone, figure out what it is that's causing your mind to go either forward or backwards. And so for today, that's exactly what I'm going to be sharing with you guys, is some ways to live more in the present. And I will just say that for me, I did have to get professional help. I had to go to therapy, and I'm still ongoing seeing somebody to talk about this. I'm very much somebody who gets super anxious thinking about the future. And I also have a lot of past icky feelings that come up when I think about the past. But if we can do these small things to start to rewire our brain to be in the present moment, the more our nervous system has the opportunity to settle. Because it's just like anything. If we don't catch it and change it and put in the work, that wheel is going to just keep spinning. Our mind is going to just keep going and nothing is going to change. And so for today, I just wanted to share some things with you on how you can begin to live in the present moment. And I do also want to recognize that I know that living in the present moment can sometimes be scary. It can sometimes be overwhelming. It can seem like way too much. And that's why I encourage you to, again, seek professional help if that is where you're at, but also be gracious and kind with yourself. Take it slow. Do small things. And that is exactly my first point to share with you guys, is to start small. When we've been doing something for so long for our whole lives, and we just flip that over and completely do the reverse, that can be really dysregulating and hard on our nervous system and on our mind, and that can cause us to actually amplify what we were experiencing before. So if we weren't worried about the past before extremely, maybe we are now because we just proved to ourselves that that wasn't safe. So start small. So besides starting small, the first point that I have for you guys of ways to live more in the present moment, the first one, and this was the one that I found to be the easiest for me in the beginning when I started this journey, and that's to notice your surroundings. If you can get that little message in your head to notice your surroundings, you'll be surprised at how often you'll be at a meeting or on a call or talking to someone or just reading or doing something, and you just look up and notice what's around you. Scan what's around you. For me, that was finding the nearest exit. For me, that was appreciating the wall, the art that was on the wall, right? For me, that's noticing where the washroom is. Whatever it is for you, notice your surroundings. Notice what's around you. And when we start to do that, we're giving our mind that rest, that we don't have to worry about where those things are because we've already established them. And even if you're just at your home, notice, look up, appreciate all the things that you've done in your home. The amount of times that I will just sit on my couch at the end of the day and look around at my plants and my art and the things that I've made and the things that I've thrifted, things people have given me. And I just start to look around and I can be physically in my space. And the thing about coming back to our bodies is that it comes through our five senses. That's why noticing our five senses is so important to ground ourselves. And so the first scent that brings our body back online and brings us into the present moment is our sense of smell. And that is why I absolutely love essential oils and smelling essential oils and putting them in the diffuser and using rollers and incorporating them into my wellness and my mental health, is because our sense of smell brings our cognitive thinking logical part of our brain back online, back into the present moment. But the second thing is our sight. What can we see? And that's why noticing your surroundings is so beneficial, because you're actually looking in the physical space that you are in instead of going into your mind. Or I know for me, when I disassociate, I don't even really see the things that are in my room. All I see is my brain taking over, and it's almost like watching a movie of my brain. And so wherever that is for you, but start by noticing your surroundings. The second point that I have for you guys for ways to live in the present moment is to focus on one thing at a time. And this is like the hardest thing for some reason for us to do. And I know why, because I'm guilty of it. And my ADHD stems into this, my OCD stems into this. But focusing on one thing at a time. Obviously doing this to which you have the capacity to do so. If you're a good multitasker and you feel like you're in your body and you're calm when you do that, amazing. But if you find yourself getting overwhelmed and skipping from one thing and half doing something and skipping to the next, you're often living in overdrive. Your body is overworking to tend to all those things that you just feel that you have to do. And so focusing on one thing at a time, one thing that I found super helpful to bridge off of this is to make a list. Every single morning, when I wake up, I make a list of what I want to accomplish, what I have to accomplish, what I would like to do. So like my non-negotiables, things I would like to get done. So maybe things like cleaning the fridge, cleaning out my cupboards, things that aren't a pressing thing, but maybe things that I want to get done so that I can do them after I do my non-negotiables. So making a list. You'd be surprised how good it feels and how grounding it feels when you check something off your list. And have a little celebration when you do that. Like have a little dance. Maybe get yourself a nice glass of coffee, whatever it is to celebrate that you did that thing. But if you focus on one thing at a time, it allows your mind to just focus on that one thing. And every time that you notice your mind start to wander away, and again, this takes time, notice that. Notice that your mind is drifting away. What is it going to? Is it always going to the same thing? Is it taking you to the same place? Is it taking you to a different place? When you start to notice that happening, pause. Try to catch yourself. Notice where your mind is going. How do you feel? How does your body feel? Maybe you're needing something to eat. Maybe you're needing something to drink. Maybe you need to get some fresh air. Pause. So doing one thing at a time. The third thing that I have for you guys, be grateful for what you have now. If you are constantly focusing on the things you don't have, you're not taking the time to appreciate what you have right now at this moment. And finding gratitude is something that takes time. But again, once we rewire our brain and train it to find gratitude, it is insane how much your mind will just begin to focus on that. Even today, I was putting laundry away and I had bought 2 new Patagonia jackets. And about a month ago, I was on the hunt, I was looking, I was searching, and I had wanted a Patagonia jacket, or Patagonia, I feel like we all say it a little differently, but I had wanted some jackets from this brand for a very, very, very long time, probably 5 years, and I just couldn't seem to get it to want to buy it. And so finally, once I did, and I did my laundry and I was putting away, I just looked at them for a moment, and I just felt such gratitude, and I literally turned to my dog and said, how grateful are we? If you're a dog person or an animal person, you know how much we talk to our loved ones and our fur babies. But I looked at Bailey and I said, how grateful are you and are we that we can buy these things, that we've done so much work and continue to work every single day, and just how grateful I am to have these things. And me 2 years ago or even a year ago would have just hung them up and just been like, yep, I bought them. It is what it is. But when we can retrain our mind to be grateful, you would be so amazed at how much more our mind just becomes lighter and everything just becomes like a blessing. And it sounds so cheesy, but imagine if we all walked around, and I've said this before, but if we just all walked around out of a state of gratitude, and every single person that we meet or we cross paths with, we just find gratitude for them. What an amazing human, right? What an amazing opportunity. What a beautiful day. I'm so fortunate I get to eat this food. I'm so lucky I have running water. I'm so grateful I get to have a shower tonight. Just finding gratitude in everything that you do really does allow your body to come back to the present moment and focus on what it is that you have in your life. Because we often get so hyper-focused on all the things that we don't have and all the things that we want, and it's usually materialistic, that we forget to look and appreciate all the things that we do have. And when we're able to just connect that and feel in the moment of just appreciative right now for what we have, not only does it allow ourselves to just be calm and be grateful, it also allows for new stuff to flow in. Because if we're just constantly wanting more, and we're not grateful for what we have, that can definitely be a big block for allowing new opportunities, new things, new people, new experiences, whatever it is to come in. Because if we're not grateful for what we have now, we're not going to be grateful for what comes in next. And again, I'm going to say this for every point. This takes time. For me, and I've said this before too, putting up sticky notes. I put one on my mirror. What am I grateful for today? Every night I journal 3 to 5 things I'm grateful for. Now before I go to bed, I find my mind just thinking all the things I'm grateful for that day. You'll notice that they just start to flow to you. But that takes time. It takes training. Anything with our mind and with mindfulness and with grounding and with living in the present moment, it's a matter of retraining your mind. Think about a sport you've never played before. You're probably not going to be an all-star the first time you play it. But the more that you play and you practice and you put in the work and you notice the mistakes that you're making and you tweak them and you fix them and you try again, trial and error, get up, you fall, you get up. It's the same with our mind. It takes time because our mind has been operating out of that state for so many years. It's not just going to shift in a week. And I think oftentimes we have that mindset of just things are going to switch at the flick of a wrist because I put in the work. That's not how it works. It takes time. Being consistent, validating for yourself that you're even putting in the work will also help to increase just your self-love and your self-confidence and your vibration. So begin to be grateful for what you have now. Number 4, I love this one, and this is one that I'm kind of working on right now. And I think that this one point just really hits home. So accepting things or beginning to accept things as they are, not how you want them to be. You cannot control everything that happens around you. Can you imagine if we just, and yes, there's an extent to this. I'm not saying that we should just accept all things for how they are. I think that there's so many injustices and we need advocacy and we need people to stand up and use their voice, and there's injustices and all those things. But I just mean small things. Things that just are the way that they are. And finding the beauty in it. Right? Again, I want you to open your mind for a minute to think bigger than just social issues. Accepting things as they are. For example, myself. I have always hated freckles on me. It's just one thing about me that I hate. And every person that I see that has freckles and that doesn't, I just think that they're so beautiful. But for me, for some reason, I've just always hated them. To the point that even when I was younger, I tried to use lemons on my face because I heard that burned them off. Like, so toxic. But now that I've just learned to accept that is a part of me, and again, this has taken almost 23 years to do this, that I've just learned to accept that is a part of me, and I was meant to look like this, and I was meant to have freckles, and I'm so lucky that I get to have them because not everybody does. You just learn to just shift that mindset that things just don't matter as much as we think that they do. No one has ever told me, wow, your freckles are so ugly. Oh, I can't believe you have freckles. Oh, you have to go over in this line because you have freckles. You're different. No, we do it to ourselves. And we do that with so many things in life. But if we could just begin to accept that things just are the way that they are and not always how we want them to be, and accept that sometimes things just are the way they are because that's how they were meant to be. They came into this world like that because that is how they are. That's how they're supposed to be. And so when we can start to shift that mindset for ourselves and just accept things, you just start to make more room for creativity and other things to flow in. Because when we're not accepting things for how they are, that means we have a sense of control over it. We feel the need to control it. We want to manipulate it. We want to change it. But imagine if we just let things be how that they are and how they're meant to be. Think of how much energy we would save, how much mind space we would save to allow room for other things to come in. So that's a huge one that I'm trying to practice now because I think that is a very hard thing to do. But I've noticed that since I started doing this, in especially people, I find that we try to manipulate people and change people, but that is for each individual person to do. Nobody can change me the same as I can't change anybody else. I can look up to other people. I can be positively influenced by other people, but I can't change other people. So when we begin to just accept people for how that they are, you also begin, again, to stop trying to control everybody. That is how they are. And if that doesn't align with you or that doesn't resonate with you, then you have the power and the control to decide if that relationship is in alignment. But you cannot change other things that aren't yours to change. I love that one. That one gets me absolutely fired up because I know that it's hard to do, and I know that it's something that I'm struggling with and that I'm actively working to improve. So I absolutely love that point, and it does allow me to live more in the present moment. Okay, the next one that I have on here, which is, again, whenever I say the word deep breaths, I can kind of feel the eye rolls because we think of deep breaths as just like, okay, like take a deep breath. It's like we don't realize how much taking a deep breath allows us to be in the present moment. Because, for example, we often all do what's called shallow breathing. It's basically like your breathing. And so whenever we're doing that shallow breathing, it causes our heart rate to go up. Because if you think of when you work out or you go for a run and you're doing that breathing, your body's working so much harder. And it is almost acting out of a state of fight, flight, or freeze. Our cortisol starts to pump, which is our stress hormone. And we don't realize that. Our heart is in overdrive. And so the more that we can just be mindful of our breathing and to practice deep breathing, the more that we're not only able to live in the present moment and to ground ourselves, the more that we're able to calm our nervous system down, calm our mind down, calm our body down. It takes 6 deep belly breaths to reset and to calm our nervous system. You could do that in a minute or less. Think of how small that time is to just reset our body. So if you notice yourself catastrophizing or having a bad day, spiraling, overwhelmed, stop and take some deep breaths. No, it doesn't make all the issues go away, but it allows your body to calm down and come back to a state of present to tend to what's going to come next. Because oftentimes we get so overwhelmed and so irritated and angry and want to lash out and we're going from one thing to the next. But if we just paused and took some deep breaths, first of all, then we are acting out of a state of logic, because when we are in that overdrive and overwhelmed, again, that front part of our brain, our logic brain, goes offline, so we are acting out of impulse. Think of a time you ever did something silly, like got in a little accident or knocked something over, and then you just get more mad and it just aggravates you. We often do those little mistakes and we miss those little things when we're acting out of that state of overdrive and anxiousness and overwhelm. So stop and calm yourself down. I have 2 points left for you guys. The next one that I want to share with you guys is to spend time with people and or doing things, so kind of both, I guess, that make you feel happy and fulfilled. That you just feel good when you're with them. Because this will also increase your own positivity and your level of happiness. Because if we're doing things that make us happy and make us feel fulfilled, we're often living in the moment. Because we're happy, we're positive, we feel safe, we feel validated, we feel seen, so we don't have to worry about the future. We don't have to worry about the past. Getting around good people and people that make you feel accepted and safe is the best way that we can live in the present moment. I know exactly what it's like to get around people and I just feel like running or fleeing or hiding or running home or whatever it is, because I'm just not feeling that state of rest and digest. I'm in overwhelm. And so getting time around people that make you feel happy and fulfilled, or doing things that make you feel happy and fulfilled, allows you to be in the present moment, to be in your body, and to just to be in the moment. So get around those people, do those things often, and notice how you feel. The last point I have for you guys, and I'm sure that you all knew that I was going to say this, and that's to practice mindfulness meditation. And if I were to kind of put these points in an order of how I think you should do them, I would probably place this one last, because if you are operating out of a state of overwhelm, or you've been in overdrive, or you're out of a state of survival, or whatever it is, doing meditation or mindfulness meditation can potentially be very overwhelming for your system and for your body and for your mind. And so I would place this one after maybe you've had a little bit more practice in other areas. But practicing mindfulness meditation is such a beautiful thing. And this is kind of where I'm at now, where every night I like to grab my sage or my Palo Santos, my oils, my crystals, whatever. And I just like to go through a 10 to 20 minute mindfulness meditation. And I notice that whenever I finish, I just feel so calm and in my body. And that is a feeling that I think has been very unfamiliar for me for a long time. Where for a lot of my life, I felt like I was watching myself almost like a movie. And that's stemming off of dissociation again, where our mind gets so overwhelmed, it basically drifts us away. So dissociation is like, think of that time you were driving to work or driving to the store, and you got there and you're like, whoa, how did I get here? I don't really remember the drive. That is exactly what dissociation is like, and that is kind of how I've been living my life for the last 2 years. And so for me, meditation was very overwhelming in the beginning because I just felt unsafe and out of my body. And so for me, one thing that I do find helpful when you're beginning mindfulness meditation is to do tapping, because I find the movement of the tapping allows me to focus on one thing at a time, and it allows my mind-body connection. My body is doing the tapping, my mind is focusing, and so I'm able to bring those two in together. But practicing mindful meditation is absolutely beautiful and huge for beginning to feel more in the moment and present and calm and not worried about the future or the past. And just like anything in life, when you're doing meditation at the beginning, again, it's a journey, it's a process. In the beginning, my mind did wander a lot. I found when I first started, I could only do 1 to 3 minutes because my mind was just so hyper-focused on everything else. But honoring where you're at, that you even tried it. Doing it every day, maybe do a minute for a week, and then week 2, do 2 minutes of meditation. Week 3, do 3 minutes, and so on, of whatever you're comfortable with. Just like anything in life, it's about starting where you're at. Living in the now and living in the present moment is something that, again, like I said in the beginning, it's foreign to us. It's going to take time to relearn. And even right now, before I close out, I want you to check in with yourself. During this podcast episode, did you find yourself drifting off? Did you find when I said certain things, maybe it caused your mind to coast that somewhere's different, right? Where's your mind now? Are you hearing my voice? Are you thinking about what you're going to go do next? Pause for a moment and stop thinking about what you're going to do next. And just validate for yourself maybe what you're going to do to tend to yourself. Are you in your body? Maybe taking 6 deep breaths after this episode before you go run and jump into your next thing. Slow down for a moment. Validate for yourself that you just listened to over half an hour worth of information about living in the now. That must mean that there's a part of you that is striving for that. So honor that for yourself. Thank yourself. I'm thanking you for that. And to bridge off of that, as always, thank you guys so much from the bottom of my heart for tuning in, for listening, for providing me feedback. I've got such beautiful messages from you guys over the last couple months, and I'm so beyond thankful. So thankful. This journey is challenging for me. Even 1 episode a week is honestly challenging for me. I have so many things I want to say, and sometimes I just can't find the words. And so whenever I do, I'm just always so grateful that you guys are so passionate and so patient in learning and being on this journey with me. Thank you guys so much. I hope you all have an incredible week. I hope that your April is going amazing. I'm sending you all so much love and big hugs. I'm so proud of you for tuning in and for just beginning this journey for you if that is something that you are feeling called to do. Thank you guys so much, and I look forward to chatting to you guys next week. Bye, you guys. Thank you all so much for tuning into this week's episode of Tiny Talks. If you're looking to connect, you can find me on Instagram at JessieBrown13. I look forward to chatting with you all next week. And remember, get out of your head and into your heart.